Story 1. For me, it's when my house becomes dirty and unorganized. My dishes start to pile up, my dirty laundry is left on the floor, and the trash can is doing a balancing act. Normally, I'm on top of all these things daily and weekly, but sometimes I can tell that a depressive episode is just around the corner based on the state of my home. Story 2. They quit reaching out as much. A friend of mine thanked me for being an annoyance when he stopped reaching out. Saved his life. Story 3. I cannot motivate myself to do simple things around the house that I actually never mind doing when I am feeling okay. I do not want to see anybody. I do not want to answer the phone. I do not want to participate in any activities. I just want time to stand still. Story 4. I haven't been out of my room except to go to work or eat, and I usually wait until no one is around so I can eat. Story 5. My business math teacher used to come to school looking like he got dressed under his desk. One morning I will never forget, he wore 2 different shoes, a black dress shoe and a light brown shoe, which also were on the wrong feet. Left foot in the right shoe and right foot in the left shoe, a half-tucked shirt, bed hair, and what looked like a liquid stain on the neck of his shirt. His excuse for looking like that? I got dressed in the dark this morning and picked up the wrong shoes and accidentally grabbed a dirty shirt. As a teenager, I just thought, he's a messy person. But as I got older, I believe he went through a bad divorce and he didn't take it so well. I still think about him and wonder what really happened. Story 6. Not wanting to be alive, but not wanting to be dead, just wanting to be nowhere. To be in a dark void with no emotions to feel. Story 7. One thing I notice in me is that I stop listening to music. Like all I want to hear is silence, and nothing more. Story 8. Unfortunately, high-functioning depression doesn't make itself blatantly obvious. There's hardly any sign that reveals its presence. We simply come home and cry in the shower every single day. Story 9. They start being really generous out of the blue, or at least completely different. Always willing to hang out, cheery, buying everyone gifts, or giving away things when they otherwise would not have done that or been like that before. Unless they are moving, it is probably likely they are planning on leaving this earth soon. And that is their final goodbyes. Story 10. I knew I had slipped back, but this thread really quantified for me how far back. Damn, I need to do something about it all. But what and how and why? Story 11. Very few observable signs mentioned here, so I will list some. 1. Drastic weight gain or loss. If you see someone and think, they're really letting themselves go, it's probably mental and not physical. 2. Drastic change in appearance. Did they shave their head? Did they stop shaving and their beard looks messy? Do they look stressed out? 3. Change in hygiene. Did they stop brushing their teeth? Do you notice lots of dandruff on someone who would normally be meticulous? 4. Higher threshold for humor. Is it harder to make this person laugh? Does this person not joke around anymore? Generally speaking, a healthy person has their situation together. Good hygiene, well-dressed, works hard on their goals, is social with friends and family. A person can be suffering inside and that might not cross the threshold into depression, but that doesn't mean they're not suffering, and how they feel inside will express itself on the outside, and it usually comes across as suspiciously off. Like something feels wrong, but you don't know what it is, and that's because people often put on a public face to conceal their problems. Story 12. Self-harm, but in ways that people notice yet can be excused. I'm someone who picks, especially at my lips. When I'm struggling mentally, I rip them to shreds, but it's easy to cover up with makeup or the excuse of chapped lips. Story 13. Edit. These are personal insights and refer to changes from typical behavior. Sure, some people can be like this normally or for unrelated reasons, but that isn't the topic of this thread, so please use your brain a little before commenting. Rapid weight loss or gain or similar physical changes, such as a messy appearance or poor hygiene, are obvious. Less obvious signs include being late more often than usual, especially if in the morning, which indicates excessive sleeping. Constant tiredness. Zoning out frequently. They don't add anything to conversations. Just listen and nod to whatever's being said. Talking less than usual. Difficult to make plans with, often canceling or being the first to leave in group plans. Bloodshot eyes, puffy face, etc. All indicate they've been crying recently. Story 14. I do the things I need to do. Wake up, shower, go to work, clean the house, do yard work, eat supper, shower, and go to bed. On weekends, I just lay on the couch and do nothing. I cannot stand the general public. One of my favorite hobbies was fishing and hunting, which is not possible anymore. People are everywhere where I used to go, and they have zero etiquette, which has ruined it for me. Story 15. Multiple job or relationship changes, manic or cryptic social media posts, sudden changes in appearance or behavior. Story 16. House suddenly looks like a hurricane went through after not hearing from the mentioned person for a long while. Story 17. Not texting back, taking longer to respond, canceling plans, isolating oneself, gaining weight, and neglecting personal hygiene. Story 18. Sure, here's the corrected content. Over-apologizing. You don't need to say sorry 15 times to a person you simply bumped into for a split second. I am, unfortunately, guilty of doing that. Story 19. I cannot be out in public without having my anxiety maximized. Cannot focus. I have a short temper. I have lost 60 pounds and do not really eat anymore. Hygiene is not affected if you do not count shaving. Story 20. Thinking everything and everyone is out to get them or sabotage them. My best friend is going through this right now. She's almost 1,000 miles away, and I don't know how to help her. Story 21. I cry a lot at night and pick at my fingernails to the point where all my fingertips are bleeding. Oh, and I have a bunch of broken, cracked, or missing teeth, not visible ones yet, luckily. I did, however, recently, about a week ago, pick up new glasses to replace the broken old ones I had been wearing and hating for the last year. I am trying to work my way out of this. Story 22. A huge sign of loneliness is how thankful the person is about everything. Chronically lonely people lack love and have really bad self-esteem, so that if you say something nice to them, they actually feel cared for. But more importantly, they feel like somebody who has the ability to be cared for. Story 23. Glued to their phone. That's my hint that I'm trying to dissociate. I also rub behind my ears mindlessly when I do the phone thing, often causing rawness similar to scalp pickers, but it's just behind my ears, not my entire scalp. I tell my hairdresser it's eczema so she doesn't think I'm a freak. I'm actually doing it now, which is why my account is new, yet I have decent karma. I spend like 18 hours a day commenting on Reddit posts to numb me, yet feel socialized. The odd thing is, my life is good. I'm just a wimp, or maybe undiagnosed neurodivergent. One of the two. Story 24. I try to explain to my family that this depression is the worst one yet. I don't shower. I don't brush my teeth. I wear a night dress for days at a time. I have no interest in keeping my house clean or washing a dish. I have obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I can't even clean anything to soothe myself. Story 25. Someone who feels the need to always be doing something socially, like the guy or girl who can never stay in on a weekend. Story 26. Panic attacks. I had one today on the highway. Was planning a little day trip by myself. I am disappointed but will try again in a few weeks. Just bummed because I really wanted to go but my anxiety. Story 27. A complete inability to find joy in anything. Considering the hassle of basic events, such as going to a concert, to eclipse any enjoyment of the event itself. Selling off personal items and hobby-related goods because you simply cannot be bothered. Being convinced, generally through experience, that very few people, if anyone, care about you or even want to associate with you. Being incapable of getting over failures or mistakes. Listening to that internal voice that tells you what a mess up you are and how nothing is going to ultimately work out in your favor, even if this is objectively inaccurate. Story 28. These are always such interesting posts. Teaches me what to look for in people so I can support them more. Story 29. When you crack the best joke you've ever told, and instead of laughter, you get asked if everything is okay. Story 30. My friend is a paramedic and said they have never been to a report of suicide where the victim's living quarters weren't in a total disarray. Story 31. I am content with failing at my workplace. They were toxic to begin with, and I would break my legs for them, but now I would not care if it burns down. Story 32. Not interested in their hobbies anymore. Constantly seeing the negative in life. Doom and gloom. All that fun stuff. Story 33. Excuses. This one can be a little iffy, though. I am not talking about the people who make excuses so they can shove the work off onto someone else and go back to what they were doing. I am talking about the people who you can tell want to do something, but keep making excuses to not. They want to go to that movie with you, but they got bad sleep and are very tired for the 20th time that month. They want to clean the kitchen, but standing long enough to do that actually is too hard for them to manage. Story 34. Feeling irrationally angry or overwhelmed by things you tell yourself intellectually aren't a big deal, but you just can't shake the feeling. Story 35. Bad hygiene such as greasy hair and face, not showering, not changing clothes, as well as a messy home, room, or car. It's so easy to stop caring, and it becomes overwhelming when you decide to care. Story 36. I once came home to find my roommate on the floor listening to the Toad version of Pumped Up Kicks. So that. Story 37. Lack of grooming, bathing, brushing hair and teeth, and doing laundry. But it's really different for everyone what their early warning signs are. Becoming reclusive, preferring to be alone. Changing eating, drinking, and substance use behaviors. Disconnect from emotions. Why do anything? Attitude. Story 38. Finding no joy in what you used to love. Still loving your family and friends, but not wanting to spend time with them. Feeling so overwhelmed by everything that even the simplest tasks seem daunting. Story 39. If you live in the United States and ask, how are you doing today? And the answer is anything more negative than okay or fine, something is drastically wrong. Story 40. Giving away several personal possessions with a carefree attitude, such as furniture, electronics, and vehicles. Story 41. So, I am actually not doing well mentally. I keep my phone solely on Do Not Disturb. I have completely isolated myself from everyone in my life. I sleep a lot, but that's mostly due to my illness. Just taking a shower is a lot for me. Every night when I say my prayers, I ask God to, please don't let me wake up tomorrow. I have been praying for that for quite a while, but as you can see, he's ignoring me. The good thing is I am sober, so I'm not throwing a bunch of drugs and alcohol on top of this. I can't even imagine what that would look like. Probably a big mess. Story 42. This may be niche, but when it feels like weights have been sewn under your skin, and you feel like the air is peanut butter, and to move at all or speak feels literally as impossible as flying. Story 43. Hygiene falling apart. At my worst, I stopped brushing my teeth. Showers became 1 week apart or more, and shaving was once a month or less. My clothes didn't get changed, among other things. Messiness was another issue. Stuff just piled up over time. I did a good job of keeping food and drinks out of my space, but everything else piled up high to the point where I had a path to my bed and computer, and that was it. My closet was absolutely overflowing with unfinished projects and items I wanted to save. That ultimately went into the garbage. Irregular eating was another issue. Sometimes I would be skipping meals, other times I was overeating. A lack of interest in things was another problem. I would spend more time staring at my video games than actually playing them. I wanted to play them, but at the same time, I did not want to. Story 44. Personally, when I've been really down, I couldn't respond positively to, how are you? It would be, I'm surviving, or getting by. Story 45. Besides some of the obvious ones, like hygiene for example, not wanting to talk to anyone indicates a loner. It's not screaming, but it is white noise, like waves. Story 46. Not changing when I get home. I'm in the military, and when I get home, I change out of the blouse and pants but leave on the undershirt. That's when I realize I've got to do something. It isn't an issue if it was just one long day, but when I realize almost everything in my laundry is military clothes, and like 2 days of workout clothes for the weekends, I realize I have to force myself to do something and see people. Story 47. I have a classmate who I feel is not well mentally. Sometimes she gives me small hits, insults me, or yells at me in the middle of class. She doesn't care which teacher is teaching or who is listening. I told her a secret, hoping she would keep it private, but she always goes around shouting that secret to humiliate me in front of others. Story 48. Voice change is a major sign that not many people notice. Essentially, when someone is having a psychotic episode, their accent, tone, grammar, or something similar can frequently change unexpectedly. It's not just a silly voice, but a completely different voice. It's a sign they're not in their typical state of mind.